So at the age of 38, I was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer. I had never even heard of inflammatory breast cancer until I Googled my symptoms. When I called the doctor's office, the nurse said she had never heard of inflammatory breast cancer. The doctor said that he had seen 4 cases throughout his career, and he assured me that I did not have inflammatory breast cancer, but the reality is I did. We had been living in South Dakota for 5 years on the Rosebud Reservation, so we were 3.5 hours away from a major medical center. So the doctor had said that we might want to consider going back to where we were from for treatment. It turns out that only 3 to 5% of all breast cancer is inflammatory. And there may be times in life where you want to be special, but this was not one of those times. So we consulted with an oncologist here, and he agreed that we were in trouble and we needed to get help quickly. Inflammatory breast cancer is highly aggressive and time is of the essence. So we left that oncologist office and we went to North Carolina that night to seek treatment. The doctor that we had in North Carolina was familiar with inflammatory breast cancer, and he wouldn't speculate as to our odds of beating the disease, but he did say that we would have to go through treatment for a year, and that during that year, I would need to be at the cancer center a minimum of 1 day a week. So we realized then that really our best option was to resign the jobs that we loved and leave the state that we loved and go back to calling North Carolina home. That was not a pivot in our life that we had expected. We had 3 daughters. They were 17, 12, and 10. So you can imagine how difficult that was. So all through treatment, I would just say to myself, Doris, this is just a bump in the road of life. You're going to get through this, and one day you're going to look back, and it's just a bump in the road. So a few weeks into treatment, my hair started falling out. Well, I had wanted to hold on to my hair for as long as I could. I had gotten a wig, but I just wasn't ready to let go of my hair. And we had been invited to a 4th of July picnic at the home of some friends. And unbeknownst to me, their daughter was a beautician, and she had a beauty shop in their backyard, in their garage. So at the picnic, she very graciously and lovingly ran her fingers through my hair and said, Doris, it's time. She said, it's coming out in handfuls, and it's not going to get any better. So that night, after it got dark, she took me in her beauty salon and she shaved my head. Now, one of my friends said, what did she say when she shaved her head? And I'm like, what was she supposed to say? She told me I had a beautiful head. So I left the picnic that night with her mother's scarf on my head. And so the next morning, we were getting ready to go to church, and I was not sure what it would be like to wear my wig for the first time. In part because when I went to get the wig, I remember standing in the wig store thinking, wow, I can get whatever kind of hair I want. I had been gray for years, so I had always heard that blondes have more fun, so this is what I came home with. So I just wasn't sure what that would be like. So being from the South, my family were all NASCAR fans, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. was our favorite driver, and at the time, he drove the car number 8. So somehow that morning, we decided that it would be a good idea, in part because we knew that we would see our friend Jim at church. He had a great big heart, and he had taken us to the Daytona 500 earlier in the year. So we decided that we would take a red Sharpie and put a big fat number 8 on the back of my bald head. So our oldest daughter did it, and my husband signed his name, trying to look like his autograph. We put my wig on, and off we go to church. So after Sunday school, we called Jim over, and we said, "Hey, Jim." And Jim's a big guy. And he's looking down at me, and I said, "Did you hear what they found when Jennifer shaved my head last night?" And his face lost all color. I felt bad for just a minute. But then I turned around and lifted up the back of my wig and showed him my new junior tattoo. When I turned back around, his face had gone from ash white to beet red. You know, a merry heart is good medicine when you're hitting bumps in the road. So, all through treatment, I heard people talk about this new normal. You know, you think you're going to get to the end of treatment, life's going to go back to normal. They talked about the new normal almost like it was a promised land, like I expected to hit this place where everything was good, I felt good, and things seemed normal again. Well, you can imagine how much anticipation you have for that when you're going through cancer treatment. So I had been told that the amount of time it took for the medicine to get into your system was the amount of time it would take for the medicine to come out of your system, for the side effects to leave. So for me, that was about a year. So you can imagine my surprise when I hit the 1.5 year mark from the end of treatment, and not only had my side effects not gone away, they had gotten worse. I was having intense pain in my jaw, my shoulder, my neck. And so, of course, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, it's cancer. So I go to the oncologist, and he did some tests, and he's like, nope, it's not cancer. I'm like, well, then what is it? He's like, I don't know. So I bounce around to different doctors, and nobody could really tell me what was going on. And so then they decided that I had anxiety. And I was like, seriously? Like, you people can't tell me why I'm in so much pain? You gave me anxiety. So it was mostly out of frustration that I started researching. And what I found in my research was something I was not prepared for. Do you guys know that 1 in 3 cancer survivors suffer with chronic pain? 1 in 3. Now, one thing that I've learned is that we are really, really good at coming along beside people when they're in the fight. I am so thankful for the people who came alongside me. I could not have done it without them. But I also know that when we get to the end of treatment, people around us tend to expect us to just move on. You know, you finished, you survived, you're done, it's good. If you're 1 in 3 that suffer with chronic pain, moving on is not so easy. This is my friend Renee. Renee was a NICU nurse for 26 years. She was 3.5 years away from retirement when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She had to leave her job because she could no longer be at her best for her patients. These are her words. People tell me every day how good I look. I wish I felt that good because this pain is no joke. Chemotherapy saved my life, but the side effects are awful. I usually wake up around 3:30 with really bad pain. My body hurts so bad at times. Neuropathy is bad, especially in my right hand and left foot. I have lymphedema in my right arm. I really don't like to take all this medicine, but to be able to walk and try to have some kind of normal life, I have to. Who should tell her just to move on? But somebody recently said, you look so good, why aren't you back at work? Now, I want to say it's not easy for me to talk about these things for a lot of reasons. But I choose to talk about it because I didn't know. Until I walked on this road, I had no idea. So there are some things that I would like to give you to think about. Many cancer survivors take medicine to prevent a recurrence or reduce the risk of recurrence. A lot of those medicines have very, very difficult side effects. Along with the side effects are the cost of the medicines. My out-of-pocket expenses last year for treatment-related issues was over $5,000. That breaks down to about $100 a week. A fellow IBC survivor said, "The longer I live, the poorer we get." If you are one of those survivors, it's not so easy to act like that's not your reality. Then there's fear. Most breast cancer survivors find that they are at a higher risk for leukemia and other types of cancer. So not only do you deal with the fear of breast cancer returning, you also deal with the fear of a secondary cancer popping up. These things are not easy. Let me just give you a little glimpse into what some of my daily life looks like. You see, I have this sleeve on my arm. I wear this sleeve because my arm hurts, and the sleeve helps it not hurt. It's a compression sleeve. So I'm in the grocery store, minding my own business, getting my groceries. Perfect stranger walks up to me. Now, let me just say, before I had cancer, I was a very private person. I would not want to be talking about my body parts to total strangers, right? Person comes up, "Oh, what'd you do to your arm?" Well, I've tried to answer that question a bunch of different ways, haven't found a good answer yet. So sometimes I say, "I had some surgery, so I have to wear this sleeve." "Oh, what kind of surgery did you have?" "Well, I had breast cancer." "Did they take your breast off?" Now, I'm just going to tell y'all, you take off your shoes, you take off your coat, you hang them in the closet. You don't just take off a breast. And if this is my breast and I don't know you, why are you inquiring about the status of my breast? That's just weird, right? I mean, we don't ask people why they wear glasses, but yet I get asked about my sleeve more times than I can count. So there are obviously things that survivors deal with. Not every survivor deals with pain or financial issues, but a lot of them do. One fellow survivor said, "I don't understand why they call us survivors when we finish treatment, because I'm still fighting long after." I recently polled a group of survivors, and I said, if you had the opportunity to have people know one thing, what would you want it to be? Their answers were astounding, because most of the answers, the most common thread was, people don't understand. My family, my friends, my coworker, they think I'm playing the cancer card. They think I just can't move on, or I'm just being lazy. I spent some time working in the cancer center that I got treated in. And working in the cancer center, I really realized how many survivors suffer in silence. And the question that I have is, why? You know, we've come so far in cancer. We talk about it. We've made advances. We are better outcomes, early detection, more treatment options. But why is it that when we get to the end of treatment, we expect people to move on, and we don't give them the opportunity to voice what they're feeling? One survivor said, "It's possible to be really, really happy to have survived and to be alive, but it's also possible at the same time to be really sad about what you've lost, about losing a body part or not having your normal life back again." Those things can be really difficult. So I'm standing here today, as difficult as it is, to say to you, please consider listening to the survivors in your life. I can't tell you how many times I have people say to me, "But you're alive, aren't you?" So the fact that I'm alive shouldn't take away my ability to speak my truth, especially not in society today where everybody's being encouraged to speak up. Why is cancer survivorship different? So I'm encouraging you to listen to the survivors around you. And when you listen, don't listen to hear what you need to hear, right? Because everybody wants to hear that you're good. You know, everything is good. But really listen to what they have to say, because even the most optimistic person should have the right to have a bad day, right? So listen with your ears to what they're saying, and what you hear, let it move down into your heart and move your heart with compassion. And when I say compassion, I don't mean sympathy, because most of the survivors that I deal with do not want sympathy. They just want understanding. And let that compassion move from your heart to your hands and to your feet, so that you can be a support to the survivors that are around you. Because if your coworker, your friend, your family member, if they are struggling, your understanding means everything. It's priceless. So let that move to your hands and your feet to support the people around you, and realize that every survivor has a story. And just like you've listened to part of my story here today, I'm encouraging you to listen to theirs. Thank you.